Everyone aboard an American Airlines jet that collided with an Army helicopter is feared dead. Arlington, VA, AP. Everyone aboard an American Airlines jet carrying 60 passengers and 4 crew members that collided with an Army helicopter was feared dead in what was likely to be the worst U.S. aviation disaster in almost a quarter century, officials said Thursday. At least 28 bodies were pulled from the icy waters of the Potomac River after the mid-air collision Wednesday night, when the helicopter apparently flew in the path of the jet, as it was landing at Ronald Reagan National Airport near Washington, officials said. Crews were still searching for other casualties, but did not believe there were any survivors, which would make it the deadliest U.S. air crash in nearly 24 years. We are now at the point where we are switching from a rescue operation to a recovery operation, said John Donnelly, the fire chief in the nation's capital. We don't believe there are any survivors. The body of the plane was found upside down in 3 sections in waist-deep water. The wreckage of the helicopter was also found. Donnelly said first responders on Thursday were searching an area of the Potomac River as far south as the Woodrow Wilson Bridge, roughly 3 miles, 4.8 kilometers, south of the airport. There was no immediate word on the cause of the collision, but officials said flight conditions were clear as the jet coming from Wichita, Kansas, with U.S. and Russian figure skaters and others aboard, was making a routine landing when the helicopter flew into its path. On final approach into Reagan National, it collided with a military aircraft on an otherwise normal approach, American Airlines CEO Robert Isom said. At this time, we don't know why the military aircraft came into the path of the aircraft. 3 soldiers were on board the helicopter during a training flight, an Army official previously said. Images from the river showed boats around the partly submerged wing and the mangled wreckage of the plane's fuselage. Investigators will try to piece together the aircraft's final moments before their collision, including contact with air traffic controllers as well as a loss of altitude by the passenger jet. I would just say that everyone who flies in American skies expects that we fly safely, Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy said. That when you depart an airport, you get to your destination. That didn't happen last night, and I know that President Trump, his administration, the FAA, the DOT, we will not rest until we have answers for the families and for the flying public. You should be assured that when you fly, you're safe. Reagan Airport will reopen at 11 a.m. Thursday, the Federal Aviation Administration announced. The FAA previously said it would be closed until 5 a.m. Friday. Duffy, just sworn in earlier this week, was asked if he could reassure Americans that the United States still has the safest airspace. Can I guarantee the American flying public that the United States has the most safe and secure airspace in the world? And the answer to that is absolutely yes, we do, he said. We have early indicators of what happened here. And I will tell you with complete confidence that we have the safest airspace in the world. If everyone aboard the plane was killed, it will make it the deadliest U.S. airline crash since November 12, 2001, when an American Airlines flight just after takeoff crashed into a residential area of Belle Harbor, New York, killing all 260 people aboard. The last major fatal crash involving a U.S. commercial airline occurred in 2009 near Buffalo, New York. Everyone aboard the Bombardier DCA propeller plane was killed, including 45 passengers, 2 pilots, and 2 flight attendants. Another person on the ground also died, bringing the total death toll to 50. An investigation determined that the captain accidentally caused the plane to stall as it approached the airport in Buffalo. Passengers on Wednesday's flight included a group of figure skaters, their coaches, and families who were returning from a development camp that followed the U.S. Figure Skating Championships in Wichita. We are devastated by this unspeakable tragedy, and hold the victims' families closely in our hearts, U.S. figure skating said in a statement. Two of those coaches were identified by the Kremlin as Russian figure skaters Evgenia Shishkova and Vadim Normov, who won the pairs title at the 1994 World Championships and competed twice in the Olympics. The Skating Club of Boston lists them as coaches, and their son, Maxim Normov, is a competitive figure skater for the U.S. The FAA said the mid-air crash occurred before 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in some of the most tightly controlled and monitored airspace in the world, just over 3 miles south of the White House and the Capitol. American Airlines Flight 5342 was inbound to Reagan National at an altitude of about 400 feet, 122 meters, at a speed of about 140 mph, 225 kph, when it suffered a rapid loss of altitude over the Potomac River, according to data from its radio transponder. The Canadian-made Bombardier CRJ-700 and one twin-engine jet, manufactured in 2004, can be configured to carry up to 70 passengers. A few minutes before landing, air traffic controllers asked the arriving commercial jet if it could land on the shorter runway 33 at Reagan National, and the pilots said they were able. Controllers then cleared the plane to land on runway 33. Flight tracking sites showed the plane adjust its approach to the new runway. Less than 30 seconds before the crash, an air traffic controller asked the helicopter if it had the arriving plane in sight. The controller made another radio call to the helicopter moments later. Pitt 25 passed behind the CRJ. Seconds after that, the two aircraft collided. The plane's radio transponder stopped transmitting about 2,400 feet, 732 meters, short of the runway, roughly over the middle of the river. Video from an observation camera at the nearby Kennedy Center showed two sets of lights consistent with aircraft appearing to join in a fireball. The U.S. Army described the helicopter as a Lu-60 Black Hawk based at Fort Belvoir in Virginia. The helicopter was on a training flight. Military aircraft frequently conduct training flights in and around the congested and heavily restricted airspace around the nation's capital for familiarization and continuity of government planning.